Give us some background on your story on how you kind of got into fitness and bodybuilding.
Yeah, sure. It's actually it's quite a bit of a unique one. So I used to be very much into my fitness, into my bodybuilding when I was really young, like around 16, 17 years old. And I knew that's where I wanted to go. I knew that's what I wanted to pursue within my life. But unfortunately, as I got a bit older, my mum got a bit unwell, and that kind of took the back burner for a bit in my life.
Mm.
Unfortunately, she did end up, passing. But as that kind of happens, that was the pivotal moment in my life where I was like, okay, this is time to pursue it. I've got to make it happen despite everything that's happening in my world. And that was around when I was 24, 25 years old, and it's just been, I guess, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just kind of thrown me into this whirlwind of an experience and built me up into what I am today. And now I'm set to compete just after I turn 30. I mean, it's a little bit later in life than I would have expected, but nonetheless, it is a goal and a dream that I'll never give up pursuing.
Mm. And how did you kind of get in the mindset, when your mom passed to kind of like get into fitness? Like, was there something or an event that happened that kind of said, you know what, I'm going to do this?
You know what? It's funny that you say that because at that moment, it's like I was so shell shocked of what was happening, and I didn't know how to, I guess, internalize my emotions. And I was sitting in my room, and I put my shoes on, and I just went for a run.
Mm.
And everyone probably thought I was crazy during that time. I even passed by some of my friends that were in my town. They're like, her mum just passed. Like, why is she going for a run? And I just ran and ran and ran until a point where I was like, okay, I've kind of dealt with my emotions. I expressed it, I internalized it through that moment. And then I found that, in moments of stress and whatnot, I guess fitness is not just an escape, but it's almost like a therapy session for me. It's a place where I can go and I can shut off my brain and I can just like, this is me, this is all me, and I can only count on myself to do the work.
Mm. So in terms of like your routine, what's that look like these days? Like, are you training twice a day, three times a day? Give us some
No,
insight.
I'm only on one workout a day just to make sure I don't fatigue myself. Obviously, I do have my step count and everything on top of that. But I work also full time as an executive assistant. I do work in Sydney as well, so there's some hectic hours of commuting. So I'm up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm heading to office. I'm working long hours, and then once I come home, I do my training around 7 p.m. at night for about an hour and a
Mm.
half. So it's not really a schedule for the week, but I guess if you've got those goals, you've got to make it happen. You've got to make time for it. And I do that around 5 to 6 times a week. So
Wow.
about 6 workouts a week at the moment on top of my daily step count, but that'll change once I go into full-time prep for my comp. That the workouts and the cardio will be upped.
Nice. And give us some insight on like, I mean, for someone like yourself, I mean, I've seen your recent photos and stuff like that, and you're obviously in great shape for only doing one workout a day. Like,
Mm.
obviously a lot of the, especially the women, they see these, people competing and they think like they're training like three times a day for hours on end. Do you have any tips, secret tips that are, that you're using, whether it's fasting, whether it's like a specific diet? Can you give us some insight on that?
I think it's just more so understanding the type of macros that you need to sustain the type of training that you want, and then also going after the goals that you want. Obviously, if you're going through a muscle building phase, you want to be in a little bit of a surplus so you can gain that muscle. And then obviously if you wanted to cut down the fat, just making sure you're keeping your protein levels high, but then being in that calorie deficit. And that's probably the biggest tip I'd say in terms of the physique goals. But in terms of your training goals, it's just all about prioritization and making a schedule and sticking to that schedule. Just sometimes it's going to feel like it's abnormal, but the more that you do it, it becomes a consistent daily habit, and it becomes a non-negotiable for you in a way of life,
Mm.
I guess.
Mm. Like one of the key things that obviously stands out is obviously you've got very developed glutes, right? what kind of tips can you give the women out there on if they want to get their glutes like you?
You know, it's funny. I used to actually have a pancake bum. I used to have no ass. And it's taken a lot of work. So, as I said, make sure you're hitting your protein goals because you need that to be able to build your muscle, and then consistently targeting your glutes with hinge-based movements at least 2 to 3 times a week. And you need to be lifting heavy, but not ego lifting, just making sure that you're controlling the motion and controlling the exercise, and yeah, making sure that you're hitting it at least 2 to 3 times a week with hinge-based movements, like your hip thrusts, like your good mornings, like your RDLs.
Tell us a little bit about, in terms of like what you got coming up outside of the competition. Like, are you doing anything else exciting in the near future? Can you give us some insight maybe on your personal life?
Not necessarily outside of my competition. I feel like everything in my world's centered around competing and around fitness. I guess more so just the athleisure brands that I'm working with. I'm now a Riderwear athlete, if that helps. In terms of my personal life, I got, I guess, like a little bit of a promotion within work, which allows me to move up to a state called Queensland in Australia. So that's going to be an eventual move of mine. I feel like sometimes when you're in a small town and you've been here for so long, you want to put yourself in a position where you can kind of expand and grow and find new versions of yourself. And I definitely think Brisbane's a place for it. Like, I don't know if you know much about Australia, but a lot of the competitors or people in the fitness industry live up in the Queensland state. So I'm like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be in that energy.
Nice, nice. So are you on any sort of supplements right now? Are you taking protein? Give us some insight on that.
Yep. So I'm on protein at the moment. I try to only really have, I guess, 1 to 2 scoops of that a day, and I get most of my protein from natural sources. And then I do take my L-carnitine pre-workouts, obviously, because if I don't take my pre-workout before I train, I'm a zombie. I'm just standing there like, I can't do this. And then my creatine as well. So I take about 5 grams of creatine a day. And that's about it at the moment. Just my pre-workouts, L-carnitines, creatine, and protein.
Nice. Yeah. So one of the things is that a lot of the women out there, they're scared, of the creatine. So it's interesting. You should take that because I always recommend taking a little bit of creatine for men or women because you definitely feel the strength, right? Like it's
100%.
yeah, yeah. So tell us a little bit about like in terms of, what are your goals with this show? Like, how do you want to come in terms of your physique? Are you working on anything in particular?
Yeah, so at the moment, my upper is actually quite built for the category that I'm going in. I'm aiming for bikini, but my wonderful posing coach Hannah, she's kind of suggesting maybe I go for that bikini athletic. So at the moment, it's just about building up those glutes
Mm.
and those quads and hamstrings for me. My hamstrings have always been a really weak part of my body, so that's a really big focus area for us at the moment. And then just continuing to condition that rear delt and that front delt of mine at the
Mm.
moment.
Like when you're looking to bring up a muscle, what is your strategy? Are you training that muscle more frequently with heavier weights?
Yes.
Give us some insight.
So it's training the muscle more frequently, yes. So it's been added into my program, and then training it to absolute failure.
Mm.
And when I say failure, I think a lot of people think, oh, I can feel a burn in the muscle, like it's hurting a bit, I should stop there. No. So training to failure is like, I can feel that burn, but you've got so much more left in you. You've probably got like another 5 to 6 rep range to go. So it's training to a point where you can't physically do another rep, and whether it's your arms, you're having to use your other arm to pull it down and complete that rep. It's doing partial reps until the death. So yeah, absolutely wanting to completely smash that muscle group and train to failure. And do,
Mm.
as I said before, you've got to make sure that if that's a focus area of yours, for me, my leg days are 3 days a week, and hamstrings are involved in 2 of those leg days. Obviously, there is certain exercise that I do on my third leg day that indirectly involve my hamstrings, but in terms of targeting them, they're involved in two of my leg days.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about your like nutrition plan. You know, are you eating 2, 3 times a day, cod, steak? What's that look like?
It actually, my macros stay the same. So at the moment, I'm currently nearly just on 2,200 macros. And it's just over 200 grams of carbs, 50 grams of fat, 140 grams of protein.
Mm.
Throughout my deficit and my build, it's always been 140 grams of protein because that's how much my body requires. But I'm doing around 3 meals a day with some obviously snacks on the sideline, like my pre-workout
Mm.
meals.
Mm. Do you do any fasting or no?
No fasting at the moment. But if I do a morning session, I do actually like to train fasted because if I'm getting up early in the morning around 6, 7 a.m. to go for a session, such as like on my work from home days, like a Thursday or a Friday, I do like to go quite early. And I actually find training fasted, I actually get really good, beneficial, and powerful workouts from it.
Mm. Like, would you recommend training fasted for cardio and weights, or just cardio, or what's your insight on that?
I I'd probably say more so the cardio because if you're doing weights, you want to make sure that you've got carbohydrates in your body to perform and be able to push as much as you need to do. Because, you know, if you do have some of those quick releasing carbs within your body, you'll find that you'll be able to perform longer sessions, you'll be able to lift heavier, you'll be able to push your body to failure. But if you don't have that, you don't have any energy sources within you. So I'd probably just say more so your cardio.
Nice. So how often are you doing the cardio? Are you doing it just half an hour, 5 days a week right now, or what's the strategy?
Because I'm in a build phase at the moment, we don't want to do too much cardio. So I'm only doing 30 minutes of cardio a week at the moment, and then my 12,000 steps every single day on top of that, just to make sure that my body's still in that surplus range.
Nice. What's your like preference with the cardio?
You know what? I used to hate the stepper. I used to look at it and be like, I do not want to get on you right now. But I actually really love using the stepper as a form of cardio. As much as it's a killer and your legs and your glutes are burning afterwards, I find it so beneficial and you get that little bit of tone within you as well.
Nice.
And it
What's
actually, yeah, it challenges me every time.
what's your like? Do you have a target in terms of calories you want to burn every time you get on the stepper, or what?
Not necessarily, no, just as long as I'm executing that 30 minutes.
Nice. What do you do like essentially when you're feeling like run down or you're feeling tired or you just don't want to go? Do you have a routine for that? Like how you kind of push through?
Definitely. And you do get like that. Like, I think if someone was to say to be motivated every day, that's completely unattainable. But the thing is to stay disciplined every day. I know that to get where I need to go is that I have to go, whether I'm tired, whether I would just want to go to bed, if I'm feeling unwell, if I'm feeling sad, I know that I need to do it. And it sounds really obscene, but I put on really happy music on my
Mm.
AirPods before I leave to go to the gym. And it's usually the cheesiest music, but it puts me in like a really happy state. And I'm dancing around my kitchen with my dogs
Mm.
for about 5 to 10 minutes before I go. And it kind of changes my mindset.
Mm.
It sounds really weird, but it's, I guess, it's a little ritual that I've done for nearly a year now.
Nice. Do you have anybody that you kind of look up to or aspire to be like in the fitness world?
Definitely my coach. So my coach is Sammy Smith. She's an IFBB competitor. I love Australian hardcore. Good choice. Sammy Smith is an IFBB competitor and she is also my coach as well. She's absolutely incredible. Fitness aside, she's a great human and I absolutely love working with her. She's got incredible goals. And then my posing coach as well. So
Mm.
Hannah Webb, she is also an FMG competitor. Her physique and her energy and the stage presence and confidence that she brings is absolutely incredible. So those have been my top two inspirations.
Nice. And do you sort of follow anybody in terms of like outside of your own team? Is there anybody else that you kind of look up to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got quite a few competitors that I'm friends with. The industry is absolutely incredible. Jacinta Greaves, who's also from Brisbane, Queensland, she's an amazing competitor as well. There's just almost too many to name that I've become connected with over the years, but Jacinta is an absolutely incredible one. Her glute profile is incredible, absolutely incredible. Sometimes I watch her videos and I'm like, gosh, damn, I feel like I'm back to pancake now that I've seen that.
I know that you're competing for a bikini, but one of the things is you do the bodybuilding. Do you have any aspirations to be doing anything with bodybuilding, like switching or between maybe the bikini to another class, or are you just going to stick with bikini?
I think because there's a new category that's been brought into FMG, that's a little bit more conditioned, a little bit more muscular dense, than just bikini, and that's bikini athletic. So that's really the direction that I kind of want to go in, especially because I'm quite quad dominant, I'm quite delt dominant as well. And you can show your back in the bikini athletic. So I definitely will be going for that. But I'm unsure if that's a category that I'm going to be going in this time around, just because there is some more building that I need to do. So I'm going to try and do the bikini category first, and then I want to work my way up to that bikini athletic division because, I really enjoy having that muscular density, and I want to aim to step on the stage as a bikini athletic.
Nice. When exactly is your show?
So it's going to be April next year. I don't know the dates yet, but I will definitely let you guys know as soon as I have those dates. So should be set to be in that month.
Nice. What's it like in Australia, the whole community of fitness and this and that, with give us some insight on that. I'm from Canada, so we're not really familiar with Australia. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's absolutely incredible. It's one of the most welcoming communities, and I feel like there's two different opinions on the community. Sometimes people say, people got big egos. It's, you versus everyone else. Everyone can be quite mean. But I find here in Australia, especially in the competing world, it is the most welcoming and loving industry ever. Especially because one of these sports, it is quite a lonely sport sometimes, because if you're constantly focusing on your meals, your macros, getting your steps in, it's quite a rigid lifestyle that you have to live that not many people understand, especially if you're just a normal day-to-day person. You're probably like, why have you got to weigh up all your food and do these steps? So you do find that you become quite close with a lot of other people in the industry. And me personally, for myself, I've gone to go meet with people that I've met on Instagram that are other competitors when I've been in other states or traveling around, and just gone to go have a coffee with them and for a walk with them. It can be quite daunting, but everyone is very accepting, wanting to make friends with you, wanting to meet up, wanting to have coffees and create friendships. So I would say that's one of the beautiful things about it here.
Nice. Are you incorporating cheat meals right now? And if so, what is your go-to cheat? How often are you cheating? Tell us a little bit about that.
If I do, I let my coach know so that we can calorie bank for it. By calorie banking, it usually means reducing some of those carbs and that calorie intake throughout that week, like pulling it back a little bit, so I can be like, I can go out for a dinner, but not often, I would say. It'd be more so if I was going out for a dinner or a lunch or anything. As I said, we'd be calorie banking for it, but I love my chocolate. I love my chocolate and any of my pastries along the lines of. But I do love going out for a nice dinner, like a nice Asian fusion dinner. So yeah, that doesn't really happen too often, mostly on special events, but that's something that's pre-planned to do.
Nice. So what is your in terms of where you're competing? Are you competing in WBFF? What's the league that you're in or that you're going to be doing the show?
FMG is actually, I guess, I don't really know how to say this, but I guess it's at WBFF, and it's formally that, so it's kind of been rebranded into FMG. So a lot of the Australian WBFF competitors have actually transferred over into that FMG federation.
And when did you decide to do this show and why?
It was about a year and a half ago. And I was having a conversation with one of my really good friends, Brooke, and I was sitting at my home and I was just, I guess, on my phone texting her, and I was like, I've always wanted to do more when I was younger, but I never really had pushed myself to do that. I'd always just trained and I hadn't set a goal with it. And I was just thinking to myself, if I'm doing all this training and I'm doing all this work on my body and on myself and on my mind, why not attach a goal to it? You can do it for everyday life, but I'm like what's there to lose, really? If you push yourself that little bit further, yeah, you might not get a place, you might not get a win, but you've attached a goal to a passion or a fitness and a hobby, and you've just run with it. And I texted her and I was like, you know what, I think I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to compete. And I think the support also that I got back from that, she was like, yes, I'll be backstage with you. I'll be holding up a sign, do it. I'm so excited. And then I'm the type of person, the moment that I set a goal for myself, or if I say I'm going to do something, I relentlessly pursue it.
Hmm.
And then I haven't looked back since then.
Hmm. Do you have any tips out there for the girls who are thinking about competing? Maybe they're, been talking about it a long time, and to give them kind of the push to take the plunge.
Definitely. I would probably say maybe even chat with, if they were thinking of it, chat with someone that they know that's a competitor as well, because there is things that's involved in it. Financially, it is quite an expensive thing to do. There's a lot of sacrifice that's involved. So chat to someone that a competitor, look at getting a coach. But most of all, just believe in yourself. Because if you believe in yourself and you set that goal, you can achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about you versus you when you're up there. It's not you versus anyone else. It's showcasing the work that you put into your body. So I say just go for it. Just know the sacrifices that you're going to have to make, and just make sure that you're mentally prepared for that. I haven't personally been through a prep myself yet, but I've been doing a lot of research on it. But just make sure that you're mentally ready for the grit that's going to be involved in it, because it's not an easy task.
What are you going to have after your show? What's your meal that you're planning on having? Some chocolate? What's the game plan here? Have you already been thinking
Oh,
about it?
100%. Well, usually you go out for a dinner afterwards, but backstage, I definitely want a loaded cookie that's got like melted chocolate on the inside. Preferably a Biscoff flavor as well, Biscoff and chocolate. And then I want to go out to dinner and I don't know. I haven't really thought. Maybe like a pasta or a pizza. I do
Yeah.
love a good burger. Something along the lines of, it's probably high carb. I'm like, get in me.
Yeah. Do you find your body like works better on higher carbs or higher fats, or how do you respond? What's best for you?
I don't really need much fats, and my fats hasn't changed much in between my cuts and my surplus. But definitely higher carbs, because I have so much more energy to train. Like when I was in my cut, I wasn't nearly doing half of the I guess the reps, the training, the intensity that I'm doing now. So now that I'm on higher carbs, I'm getting personal best. I'm training to absolute failure. I have energy throughout the whole duration of my workout as well. So definitely with high carbs.
A lot of, especially the women, a lot of women are scared of carbs. Like they think, oh, carbs are going to make me fat if I take in carbs. What input and what feedback can you give the women out there who are thinking about carbs like in that manner?
You need carbs for your brain fuel and for your body fuel. Like
Mm.
you can take it back, but you still need to ensure that you're fueling your body with carbs, and especially the way that your brain functions as well. Like you need carbohydrates to operate. So don't be scared of them. They're your fuel that will get you through your workouts and get you to where you want to go.
Are you nervous about anything with the show coming up? Like, is there anything that you're kind of is in the back of your mind, like that you're not maybe prepared for? Give us some insight.
I'd probably say the last few weeks of prep, that's when you're really flat, your calories are super low, you're still trying to train with that same intensity. So I'd probably say the mental resilience side of that, which I know that I have, but it's just going to be unlike something else. Um, So more so nervous about that and what comes along with it. And probably during that time, obviously you're super focused on your sleep because you need that, and you probably actually can't even sleep that much because your body is fueling itself on not much. But I guess that loneliness during that period, which is what I mean when I say when it comes to the community, that's really all you've got around you during that time. It can be quite a lonely time, and you're just like, what am I doing this for? But that would probably be the only thing. Everything else, I just feel like it's going to happen exactly how it's meant to.
Nice. So are you prepping all your food yourself? Are you going to another company, and are you eating out at all? Like out coming up into this prep?
I haven't eaten out for a while now. I'm currently on a meal plan at the moment, so everything is tracked to the T in terms of my macros, in terms of my fats, carbs, and calories. So I try to follow that as much as I possibly can. And that's, yeah, all made at home by myself and weighed up.
Nice. What's your like go-to, like people can expect to see this meal from you every day? What's your like staple meal?
It sounds really silly, but it's just an on the go thing that I always have because I'm so busy all the time. I'm living for just my sushi bowls and my tuna and rice.
Nice.
It's a high protein and, on the lower calorie side, especially if you're having the tuna chunks in spring water. But that's usually just my on the go meal, and I absolutely love it. It sounds so basic, but I truly enjoy it.
No, no, no. I mean, I love the tuna and rice too. That's a great choice. Like not all the time for me, but once in a while, definitely I crave tuna.
Mm.
What are your thoughts in terms of, right now there's a lot of people talking about recovery, being a big thing with ice baths, with sauna, different things. Are you doing anything, in particular to help with your recovery?
Definitely. So I'm a big believer on recovery as well. I don't sauna as much, and I've never actually had an ice bath, and I've been meaning to have an ice bath soon. But for me, I like to go get my massages. I like to do my stretches. I like to do my mobility stretches, and I love my saunas as well. And I think a big key of recovery as well, you can go do saunas and you can do your ice baths as much, but if you are pushing your body to a point of overexhaustion every single day and you're not taking a rest day, that's a recovery piece that a lot of people forget to focus on.
Mm.
So I would say it's making sure that you're getting your sleep, it's making sure that you're taking your rest days as well, and then also that muscular recovery in terms of your ice baths and your saunas and your stretching.
When you're taking a day off, when you say, you're training 5 days a week, on those 2 days, are you doing anything? Like, what are you doing at all on those 2 days that you're not training?
Just making sure I'm still getting my step count in. So it's going for walks, whether that be just by myself, whether that be with friends, whether that be with dogs. Just that step count is a non-negotiable for me.
Mm.
And then I'm doing my basic boring things like going to the shops, getting my meals, going shopping, seeing my dad, cleaning up the house. So it's not like I'm just sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing. Still, that step count is a non-negotiable. But yeah, just doing my daily chores that I need to do.
Is your like when you're, looking at your progress, are you a lot of it to do with the scale, how you look in the mirror? What's your kind of like go-to that you're on track?
I feel like the scale is not really an accurate deterrent for how much muscular density that you've built. And obviously, it can tiptoe overnight. If you've had high carbs, if you haven't had enough water, if you haven't had enough sleep as well, that can all play a difference in it. But I'd say it's more so just looking at that muscular density and just doing that comparison photos of over time of seeing how much I've built and the measurements as well.
Nice. And like on the regular, how much water are you drinking?
I drink about 2 liters, 2.5 liters a day.
Do you find that hard or no?
Not really. I feel like at first I was like, my God, this is so much. It's making me feel full. Um, but not really. No, I feel like it's just become a regular thing for me. I always just keep my bottle by myself. I have like a bottle by my bed. I have a bottle upstairs. I have a bottle that I take to work. So I guess it's just become a routine habit now.
Nice. Are you sweetening the water with anything or just plain water?
Just plain water.
Nice. Did you have any questions for me at all?
Actually, yeah, I do. So obviously you are the co-founder of Nutrabolics. How did you get into this journey of I'm going to start a supplement company? Had you come from a fitness background or had you come from a nutrition background?
Yeah, so I was actually working at a gym prior. I was handling like the wellness side of things and the nutrition, and then I got a job at GNC, and I really excelled at this job. I became like the number one salesman. And then what happened was is that, my business partner now, he was my friend from high school, and he came in one day and he asked, for a job, and we gave him a job, and I trained him, right? I taught him everything I knew, and then within a matter of weeks he was outselling me. So he's
Oh,
now,
wow.
yeah, he was now the number one salesman. I was like number two. I was kind of like, wow, like this is like the real deal, right? And essentially, we just found that the products that were being made, like from other competitors, we saw this niche where we're like, you know what, like we could do this better. And we kind of just took the plunge and, we made it happen. And for the first, 6 weeks, it was pretty scary because, everybody said, no, we don't want your products. We're not interested, right? But we just kept going. We kept pursuing it, and actually, we're going to launch our TV series coming up very soon, where we actually have the whole story, and we're going to be dropping that within the next very short time, and people can watch it. And we have footage from actually when we started 22 years ago, me getting on the plane to go visit my partner, convincing him to start this supplement company, because a lot of people don't know is that when I started the supplement company, I was 20 years old, right? I didn't have any money. My business partner was in university. He didn't have any money, and I had to convince him to basically drop out of university, fly across the country to come live in my parents' house because that's where I was living at 20 years old. And the two of us set up shop in my parents' house. So it was like we were all in. There was like no going back. It was like ride or die. We're in it. So yeah, we just went out there, and I think that it was just through resilience, hard work, and just like, really paying close attention and putting out the best quality products that we could make, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I think the products speak for themselves, right? I mean, like
Definitely.
that's kind of been our motto is like, let's really go hard on these products and making the formulas different, unique, innovative. That's kind of what separated us. And then once people started trying the products, we started getting the feedback, and then it just started to happen slowly and surely. The brand started to build, and we're still here 22 years later.
Wow. That's incredible. And it's funny that you say that you got this idea, you were 20 years old, you convinced them to drop out of university. It's just, I guess, that believing in yourself part that you're going to make it happen. You don't know how you're going to make it happen, but you're going to make it happen.
Yeah, I think that, once my partner dropped out of university, flew to Vancouver, I mean, I was like all or nothing. Like there was no going back. So I had to, I was working 13, 14, 15-hour days. I don't even know how many hours I was working sometimes. It didn't matter. I was like, just go, go, go. If you were a customer back then and you ordered product, I would like deliver it to you personally the same day. I would
Wow.
like go to the warehouse, pick it up, drive it to you. Like I really wanted to like give that like, touch, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, for us, it was like, getting the people to try the product. So when I would show up, say I was coming to a nutrition store, I would be super prepared. I'd have the water, I'd have the milk, I'd have all different things ready to go. And I think just having that extra level of preparation and that service of like, wow, like this guy's willing to bring us the product the same day. Like I thought I needed to do things that were a little bit outside of the box, and just really kind of, those were some of the little things that we did. And yeah, there's a lot, the story goes a lot deeper, and you guys will have to tune into Supplement Sharks very soon and watch the whole story. You can see it unfold. I remember, just so many crazy memories that I don't want to release yet, but you'll see it in the show coming up.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. I can't wait to watch it because I find the stories of how people have built themselves and built their brands and how they've marketed it and seeing it from scratch until now, I find the whole telltale journey of that very interesting. So I'm very excited to tune into that.
Yeah. Tell us, is there anything that you wanted to talk about today before we wrap up?
Not necessarily. I would just say for anyone that's out there in the fitness world, to just believe in yourself and to just work on your discipline and work on your grit, because if you focus on those things, you'll get anywhere you want to go.
Ooh, I like that. I'm motivated. I'm motivated. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Okay.
Jason.
Okay. Take care.
See ya.